Podcast.
It's Big Podcast Playbook, the marketing podcast for podcasters. My name is David Hooper. BigPodcast.com is the site, and this is what we do here. Help you grow your podcast audience, get more people to your podcast, make more money with your podcast, get advertisers and sponsors for your podcast, make impact with your podcast, spread a message that matters, make people feel good, make you feel good. You're going to build your self-esteem because of a great podcast. And if you want to do that, you are in the right place. I got a letter here, a listener letter. You hear that? Listener letter. Came on paper. No, it didn't. It came via email, and then I printed it. Here's what it says. Hi, David. First off, thanks for your podcast and all the super practical advice you share in growing and engaging an audience. You've become my go-to voice whenever I think about why my show isn't connecting the way it should. Well, that's exactly what I want to do. Thank you very much. Here's my struggle. I host a weekly interview podcast for early-stage founders. Downloads are decent for a day or two after launch, but almost no one seems to stick around. My completion rates hover around 35 to 40%, and hardly any listeners move from I checked out one episode to I'm a regular. I feel like I'm constantly talking to strangers instead of building real community. I want to reach into this part of the letter before we finish up the letter. The struggle, host a weekly interview podcast. That's pretty standard. And a weekly show is great because it's not too much, but it's consistent. The other thing that's nice about a weekly frequency is that you get into the habit. People most of the time, if you look at their Monday, for example, or their Friday or their Saturday, it's going to be the same thing that they did on Monday or Friday or Saturday the week before. So your podcast can become one of those things. So that's a good thing. She says, downloads are decent for a day or two after launch, but almost no one seems to stick around. I don't know how she would know that. Maybe that's later on in the letter here. Downloads are decent for a day or two after launch. That's pretty common for books or albums. For example, if you release a book, there's all this promotion around a book, usually with a traditional method, not like a slow burn method. So we can talk about that here later on in this episode. But more or less, because of subscribers and because of the promotion that you're doing, a day or two after launch, that's going to be pretty common. But she says almost no one seems to stick around. Again, I don't know how you know that. She is looking at completion rates, 35 to 40%. Let's look at that for a second. Does that maybe mean that you're going on too long? A lot of podcasts, for whatever reason, we think they need to be an hour. You're getting 35 to 40%. This is one of the things that I've talked about, and this is especially true for commuters. A commute, on average, it's about 20 minutes in this country. Sometimes you look at a podcast and you say, well, it's an hour, 2 hours, sometimes 4 hours. These Joe Rogan, Tim Ferriss style interviews. That can be overwhelming to people. And because of that, sometimes having a shorter podcast is better. It's not as overwhelming. If you look at this podcast, most of the time pretty short. And because of that, you're more likely to have more people complete. But anyway, yeah, 35, 40% for, let's say, an hour. I'm making an assumption. It's not the worst, but it's also not the best. With that said, if you were to have a blog post or a YouTube video, they'd be killing for 35 to 40%. That's one of the great things about podcasting. We sneak that information in. Somebody's busy doing something, commuting, at the gym, cooking dinner, and they can listen to more of your podcast and spend more time with you. That's what makes this such a powerful format. Hardly any listeners move from I checked out one episode to I'm a regular. I don't know how you know that. I don't know if it's because you're talking to people, but there's some things that we can talk about that can help you with that. I constantly feel like I'm talking to strangers instead of building real community. All right. On the last episode, I talked about building real community. I talked about a political campaign in my city, actually 1/3 of the city, but it's specifically to my neighborhood. It's a gerrymandered district. Everybody and his brother is watching it. It's basically David versus Goliath because of the gerrymandering and because of the way the state normally turns. It's flipping some stuff on its head. This woman is breaking through the noise. If you're interested in finding more about how to break through the noise, go back and listen to that previous episode. You can do that, by the way, bigpodcast.com/subscribe. When you subscribe, you get all these episodes. Next part of the letter, let's get to that. So far, I've tried, and this is actually what my suggestion was, shortening the episodes and adding hooky cold opens to make the first minute punchier. Did talk about shortening the episodes. Yeah, that's going to get you a better completion rate. The hooky cold open to make the first minute punchier. Yeah, that can get people sticking around. The way to do that is to tease something out, and you will see it happen often in radio. I do it all the time in breaks. If I'm going to a commercial break, and I'll give you one that's off the top of my head because I've just produced this in the last week. Had an interview, and this was a long one. This is for a 2-hour radio show. There was a story about a stolen truck full of cowboy boots, a semi-truck full of cowboy boots. So we're going to break. I cut in. Hey, it's David here from the control room. We've been talking about the lighter side of the trucking industry, but what happens when you flip that on its head? There is a dark side. Freight and cargo theft is very real. What would happen if you're hauling 40,000 pounds of cowboy boots and they get stolen? Well, that happened to our guest. When we come back, they're going to talk all about that. And then what happens when the load is found? We're going to talk about that too. That's coming up. And then you go into the break. So I've got two interesting things there. One, there's a stolen load. That's a mystery. It's dangerous. There's some stakes. And the other thing is, I'm specific about it. There's sort of a humorous thing. There's 40,000 pounds of cowboy boots. That's a lot of cowboy boots to unload. That kind of hook, that's usually going to get people to stick around. Not everybody, but some. The specificity, that's going to help you. Shorter episodes in general, obviously. If you can say the same thing in 10 minutes, what it was previously taking you to say in 20 minutes, you just save somebody 10 minutes. And you've also made it easier for them to complete. I don't know that completion rate is the issue. If they're hearing you for 20 minutes, whether that's 50% of your episode or 100% of your episode, doesn't matter. I mean, maybe you got some special stuff at the back that you're trying to bring people in on. At the very end of this podcast, I'll tell people to subscribe. That's the hardcore guys. There's a reason for that. I just mentioned this earlier, strangely enough. I don't usually do that because I don't have you invested into the show to do that. But yeah, shorten the episodes. That can help. The hooky cold open, that can help. Don't make it hype and kind of let people know where it is. I like the idea of teasing something that's going to come up, and you'll hear me do that here on this monologue. I know what's coming up because I've got the episode outlined. You may not have that in an interview, but one of the things that you can do, you could say something like, well, I know one time you were delivering cowboy boots. That was your first job before you got into blank, whatever it is now. We're going to talk about that in a minute. First, I want to ask this. You can tease out questions ahead of time. That might help you. Let's get back to the list of so far I've tried. Posting audiograms and quote cards on Instagram and LinkedIn every week to promote new episodes. Well, here's what the next thing is. She says, neither has moved the needle on retention or repeat listens. Yeah, audiograms, don't let it keep you from doing it. If you're good at audiograms, it can be helpful. What a lot of people do is they'll do a clip and then it cuts off in the middle of even words. They're not really specific about it. What I like to do with an audiogram is the same thing I would do on a radio, and I call it a 3-bullet ad. So I would say if I had a guest, for example, you said you're talking to early stage founders. Hey, it's David Hooper. I've got a great episode coming up, the Early Stage Founder Podcast. I'm talking to Rico Rodriguez. What are we going to talk about, Rico? Rico says, well, David, we're going to talk about 1, boom, 2, boom, 3, boom. Then I go back into it. That's the Early Stage Founders Podcast. You can find it right now on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. We'll see you on the next episode. So you're teasing people out. You're letting people know where to get it. You're telling them what they're going to talk about. It's what in radio you call a donut. It wraps around the content in the middle. And it's basically that. It's stuff you've already talked about, by the way. But you're asking it like, what are we going to talk about? Because again, you know, you've got that outline. You've just done the recording. What's coming up? You say, what are we going to talk about? Because the episode hasn't been released yet. Then the guy says 1, 2, 3 things he just talked about. Then you let people know where to get it. So an audiogram like that might help you. Quote cards on Instagram, LinkedIn. Test it. You're saying it's not working for you. I think the quotes, I mean, you can tease people if it's something like a stolen load of cowboy boots. Oh, man, I had it happen to me one time, what we call twinning. Or you're in the cowboy boot business, oh man, stolen cowboy boots. We have that all the time. That can bring people in. I would say for LinkedIn, and I'm not a LinkedIn specialist, but I do use LinkedIn. I would say start a conversation around it. And if you're interested in more, I've got an early stage founder. He's talking about it here on this episode, a link to that episode. What would you do specifically to turn these casual one-time listeners into loyal returning fans who feel personally connected to the show? Any concrete steps or frameworks I can follow would mean a lot. Well, I've already done that. Let's review the big one. I think this is important. The existing community that's out there in Nashville, we've got something called an entrepreneur center, these startup accelerator things that are supposed to get guys online and making money a lot quicker than they would otherwise. Go to these existing communities, network with them. I talked about in the last episode, nose to nose, toes to toes, shake hands, listen to them. They're going to tell you what they want, and they do listen to podcasts. So if you can deliver that, you're in good shape. Plus, when you meet somebody, I got a podcast, we take it for granted. Oh, man, I'd kind of like to hear that podcast. I got a book. Oh, I'd kind of like to see that book. Maybe you're not going to read the book, but you might look at it online. Say, oh, okay. Oh, that's cool. You're going to get an idea of what that person is doing. You can entrench yourself in that community so you are that person. I've done that a few ways with my radio career. At this point on the show that I work on called Music Business Radio, people come to us. I've told this story a lot, but if you haven't heard it, it's worth telling again. For 20 years, I tried to get Dolly Parton on my show. Didn't hear a thing. Dolly Parton is down the street from me. I could walk to her office in 10 minutes. Is she there? Probably not. But if I could get in there, she's pretty close. Her people are pretty close. Eventually, she comes to me. Hey, would you like to do this? Now, I don't know if she knew me from that work I was doing, or she knew me because I've got a big antenna attached to this show, or she knew me from reputation for being on the air for 20 years. But she did come to me. That's because I'm entrenched in the community. I was talking to a program director who works with the biggest country jock in the country. That's kind of a funny word. The biggest country music jock in the United States. And I was asking, how do you get your interviews? He said something I think is important, not just the big antenna and the big audience, but they trust him. You're working with early stage founders. A lot of these guys, at least the guys that I've worked with, they are trying to get money from other people to keep this thing running. They are vulnerable. They do not want to look or sound like idiots. They got to trust you. That's going to help you a lot. If people know that you are fair, and that's listeners and the people that you interview, you're going to have more people stick around, more people come to you with opportunities. So I would say that's number one. Engage with the existing community and be a part of that community. Get out there in person, make that happen. A couple more things. Maybe people aren't listening because it's you. That may sound harsh, but the reality is that we think we've got a great show because we're connected to it. Sometimes, maybe not so much. So maybe there's some things that you could change, and you're coming to me and saying, hey, what can I change? Okay. But is it you not something about your show that they don't like? Are you not considered an insider? Do you not have your skills as an interviewer or as a host together? Do you not have the audio quality? Are you not showing up in a way that makes them look good? I would look at those things. I would also look at them, the other side of the equation, because you've got an interview podcast. Maybe it is them. This happens to me so often because I sound good. I'm mic'd up. You're hearing me. You think you sound that good as well. You do not. And I have to be very clear to any guest that I have in a remote situation. Do not use a laptop mic. Do 100%. It is non-negotiable. Do wear headphones. And people argue too, well, I've never worn headphones before. I don't like headphones. You're wearing headphones on this episode. I had a guy one time talking into the wrong side of his mic. And this is how you fix that. If it feels like somebody's in a room and they're walking around and they're not on the mic like this, have them tap the mic. And I've had this happen with people more than once. They'll tap the mic, they're talking into the wrong end of it. I had a guy argue with me one time. He said, I've done 100 episodes like this. Yeah, guy, they're not professional like I'm professional. They don't care. I care. If you want access to my audience, you've got to show up in a certain way. Are you editing your guest? Are you editing yourself to make you and the guest sound your best? There are a lot of little things that you can do. It's not glamorous, but it's not that bad. It's going to make you feel good about yourself. You're going to go back to those people. They've done these 100 interviews. They sounded like balls on all of them, except yours. Oh, man, now I see the difference. It's not your job to win these guys over, but it is your job to have a good episode for your audience. So thank you very much. By the way, I'm not going to listen. M.E. Thank you very much, M.E. Female name. I think I got the pronouns right. Thanks for the letter. I take these letters. If you want to reach out to me, you know how to do it. bigpodcast.com. By the way, if you want to work with me personally, bigpodcast.com/AMP. That's AMP. It stands for Audio Monetization Program. This is me working with you, working with other podcasters who are working as hard as you are. So there's that built-in community. You can get in there, ask other people questions, not just me. Get the answers, work with me one-on-one. I've got some training in there. You can find out more about it. bigpodcast.com/AMP, bigpodcast.com/AMP. That is the way to work with me if you really want to take your show to the next level. But if you just want to listen to me, hang out a little bit, you can subscribe to this podcast for free. The way to do that, bigpodcast.com/subscribe. You go there, you see a page, and that page has 3 buttons. One of them, iPhone. The other, Android. The other, an old-fashioned RSS feed. How do you listen to this podcast? Well, you know which one to pick. An iPhone, an Android, or an RSS feed. You'll find it at bigpodcast.com/subscribe. Go there now before you forget. And when you do, I'll see you on the next episode of Big Podcast Playbook. Hey, it's David Hooper, host of Music Business Radio. If you love music, come spend an hour with us as we take you behind the scenes of the music biz. My guest this week is Jason Hollis. He's a record producer. He's into artist development, but also owns a club, the 8th Room on 8th Avenue South. Jason, what are we going to talk about?
We're going to talk about, the music industry, Nashville and Los Angeles. We're going to talk about opening a club, and we're going to get into some artist development.
Music Business Radio, Sunday mornings at 11, with a replay Monday nights at 9 on Lightning 100.